Today's Philadelphia Eagles Now is sponsored by RexMD, the #1 leader in men's telehealth. You can see for yourself and get on the right health track at rexmd.com/chat. We'll put that link in the comments section and in the description of this video. So on today's Philadelphia Eagles Now, plenty to discuss, and I want to talk about two rookies in this 2023 NFL draft class who continue to impress the coaching staff, the media members on hand for some of these Browns-Eagles joint practices, as well as their teammates. Jalen Carter, Sidney Brown. I thought they had really good debut performances in their preseason debut. First game as professionals over the weekend against the Baltimore Ravens. Both are starting to get first-team reps pretty consistently on this Eagles defense. We'll take a look at what the buzz is around those two players, but first, a programming reminder. Our watch party last Saturday was awesome against the Ravens. A record high, 50,000 views for the preseason, almost $1,000 in super chats. So on Thursday Night Football, we're running it back. Eagles playing host to the Browns at Lincoln Financial Field. Our coverage begins with an hour pregame show, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. We want to break our records from last game, so make sure you subscribe, turn on those notifications, and join us. Live play-by-play, audience interaction, and of course, more Super Chat giveaways. We're also on the road here to 50,000 subscribers. We have 48,072 right now, and less than 2,000 people, of course, away from reaching that great milestone. Hit that sub button right now. More on Jalen Carter and Sidney Brown. First, though, a word from our sponsor, RexMD. Again, you can see for yourself at rexmd.com/chat. Fellas, you have to see what I'm talking about because RexMD can help a lot of people out there, and we really appreciate their support of Eagles Now as well. Guys hate going to the doctor. It literally takes half a day just to get it done. Also, you don't want to talk to your doctor about certain issues. Here's the thing. Most men's health issues have really simple solutions. RexMD is all about the simple solutions. RexMD makes getting generic and branded Viagra or Cialis easy. Everything's online, even the prescription, and they deliver right to your door. No office visits, no talking to a receptionist. Super simple. Just fill out a quick medical questionnaire on their website. A doctor will review the situation and prescribe you generic Viagra if appropriate. Did you know Viagra can cost around $90 a pill, but RexMD has generic Viagra for just as low as $2 a pill. RexMD's team of licensed physicians will work with you to find the right treatment plan, and their medication is made in the USA so you can trust its quality. It's fast, simple, and cheap, and you can access your U.S. licensed RexMD physician anytime you need afterwards. RexMD has helped over 300,000 guys get generic Viagra quickly and conveniently. Act now. Take advantage of their deal. RexMD.com/chat. Our exclusive deal will save up to 90% off, where you'll pay as low as $2 per dose. We're going to put that link in the comment section, of course, in the description as well of this video. It's RexMD.com/chat. So we want to pay homage to Lil Wayne here. Great song back in the day. Mr. Carter. And Mr. Carter for the Philadelphia Eagles, we're of course talking about Jalen Carter, is starting to turn it on in training camp so far, following an impressive preseason debut against the Ravens. 2 snaps on Saturday, and he made his impact right away. And it's funny because a lot of teams let Jalen Carter fall to the birds at number 9. They had to move up one slot to take him going into the draft process. A lot of people thought that he was the consensus #1 defensive player in this draft. And right from the jump, we were able to see why. This pressure of Josh Johnson, where he burst through the line of scrimmage very, very quickly. And we broke this film down the other day where Jalen Carter is lining up at defensive tackle. And you see number 66 here, the right guard, seems to have a pretty good grasp of where Jalen Carter is going to go. Because once the ball is snapped, he's able to engage with Carter. And he's in a solid position here where both of his hands are on Jalen Carter's chest. But this is the speed-power combination that I'm talking about, where it looks as though Jalen Carter is blocked up, and in an instant, Carter is able to get past 66, and the next thing you know, Josh Johnson is looking down the barrel of a shotgun with Jalen Carter coming right after him. He's able to tackle him, nearly got the sack. Johnson had to throw that football away, and right away, you see what the Eagles saw in the pre-draft process with why they drafted this guy. Now, I think it's pretty telling when Fletcher Cox, who was a member of the 2010s All-Decade team, he's one of the best defensive linemen in the history of this franchise that is boosted and has seen a lot of great defensive players, says something like this about a young player, because Fletcher Cox still one of the top defensive tackles in the sport. And he said this about Carter after joint practice number 1 between the Browns and the Eagles. The biggest thing is just seeing him go out there and destroy people. I can say he's soaking it up. He's learning each day the technique and how to take care of himself, the importance of things on the field, and how they need to be taken care of on the field. Being smart, making smart decisions on the field, knowing the playbook. I think he's got a pretty good handle scheme-wise and what the coaches expect of him, and now it's up to him to go out and execute on the field and ball out. And he's been balling out so far. That's why he's starting to climb up this depth chart a little bit. That's why Jalen Carter is starting to get some first-team reps. And after a lot of NFL evaluators, media members started to do some film study, they looked at that one snap from Carter, and they saw what we saw right away. And I pointed it out right away during the watch party. I'm like, oh, that was Jalen Carter, bing, boom, pow, able to get a pressure on Josh Johnson just like that. Former NFL scout Bucky Brooks of NFL Network saw that play, and he said, quote, he looks every bit as good as a number 1 overall pick. Now, a reason why a lot of people haven't been talking about Carter until up to this point is because his teammate from Georgia, Nolan Smith, drafted 30th overall, is the player who is getting a lot of hype. But when you evaluate some of these practices for the media members on hand, when they're standing on the sideline, it's easier to see a defensive end outside linebacker because there's a free sight line of what that player is doing. It's more difficult to see what a defensive tackle is able to do and how dominant they can be because there are so many bodies in the trenches. But Elliott Shore-Parks, he's been charting every single play at training camp. He's been at every single practice session. He said this on Twitter yesterday after Carter had a great and dominant showing against Cleveland. That's a pretty good offensive line, too, that the Browns have. He said Jalen Carter is definitely starting to stand out the further into Eagles camp that we get. And then he also said this, I think the biggest development over the last week of camp has been the emergence of Jalen Carter. He's starting to look more and more like an instant top 10 pick. And what Carter did on Monday, I think it's pretty telling when he's able to impress the Eagles media, but also the Browns media as well. Because some Browns beat writers were like, Jalen Carter is a really good player. He lasted until 9 in the draft, 2 sacks against Cleveland, a tackle for loss, a fumble recovery. He also had a quarterback hit that resulted in a near interception. And it wasn't only Fletcher Cox, who's a great player, raving about Jalen Carter after practice. It was also Hassan Reddick, who said his intensity, he's a dog. Our depth along that defensive line is crazy. We call it 1A and 1B. And this Eagles defensive line, it is extremely deep, really, for both the starting defensive line and the second defensive line. A lot of teams across the NFL probably wish that they could have some of the talent that the Eagles do have with their backups. So that's the latest on Jalen Carter. Latest on Sidney Brown coming up, because this draft class for Philadelphia, Howie Roseman may have knocked it out of the park like Bryce Harper at Citizens Bank Park. If you're pumped up for Jalen Carter, make sure you hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. As for Sidney Brown now, first team reps for Sid. He was the starting safety opposite of Reed Blankenship yesterday for a couple of snaps, and that starting safety spot opposite of Blankenship, it is open. It is vacant. It is up for grabs. Terrell Edmonds hasn't done anything to impress a lot of people. Kayvon Wallace has had a good training camp, but Sidney Brown has a little bit more upside and might be the better player down the road, of course, with higher pedigree. And for Sid to get first-team reps on Monday after how well he performed on Saturday, a team-high 9 tackles, and the way in which he played, that tells a story because Sean Desai watched that film, and he's like, we have to get this guy on our first-team defense, and he did that the first practice back after that preseason opener. Jeff McLane, Philadelphia Inquirer, with this write-up on Sidney Brown here. Sidney Brown had been toiling with the second and third team defenses for the first 2.5 weeks of camp and didn't see the field in the preseason opener against the Ravens until the second half. But the rookie safety got the first taste of the first unit on Monday. It wasn't necessarily a promotion. Defensive coordinator Sean Desai continued to rotate in the spot opposite of Reed Blankenship and employed 3 safety looks and big nickel personnel. That's also an interesting scheme note for those people out there who are interested in that stuff. But Brown's inclusion was noteworthy after a solid performance in Baltimore in which he led the Eagles with 9 solo tackles. He didn't have many passes thrown in his direction during team drills, suggesting his coverage was sound, but he did explode off the edge on a blitz and got to Brown's quarterback, Deshaun Watson, for a would-be sack. And my evaluation of Sidney Brown, I like the player because he can impact the game really at all 3 levels. He can play in the box like he did on Monday's practice where he had that would-be sack against Deshaun Watson. He can play at that second level, kind of as that hybrid linebacker, or if he comes up from that safety spot, and he has this 4.4 speed, that 4.4 40-yard dash speed that he ran in the pre-draft process at the Combine that allows him to go vertically up and down the field to cover a lot of space, but also has good range from sideline to sideline. And those 9 tackles that he had against Baltimore, I was very impressed with the way that he played, the style in which he played with. And he's an aggressive player. He's physical, plays with his hair on fire, and has absolutely no fear. This was the play specifically that stood out to me. You see the portion of the red circle on the right side of your screen. That's where Sidney Brown is lined up at the start of this play. The Ravens are going to go read option here, and they're going to hand the ball off. Sidney Brown identifies this right away, and you see how quickly he's able to come up from deep safety to within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, that blue line there. The running back here bounces this ball to the outside. You saw where Sidney Brown was to start this play. He's able to track this running back down, and this closing speed here is impressive because that previous picture, it looked as though that running back was a shoo-in to reach the line to gain here. Look at the angle. There's a lot of space between Brown and the ball carrier. But look how quickly he's able to close here, just in the midst of a couple of yards. He nearly tackled him shy of the yard to gain for that first down. That's the speed that I'm talking about. Now, he did have a 16.5% missed tackle rate last year at Illinois, but I want the aggressiveness because sometimes you can't instill that in a player. You can't teach that. You coach that. It has to be ingrained. And Sidney Brown has that type of dog in him that I think could allow him to get reps as a rookie and potentially start for this team with Super Bowl aspirations. And if that's the case, just look at what Philadelphia may have with this draft class. Jalen Carter at number 9, already making plays. Nolan Smith had a quarterback pressure in his first game very quickly before he was taken out. Sidney Brown might be a starting safety this year, if not in the future. And Tyler Steen is getting snaps at left tackle and at right guard. Those are only, 4 picks right there. And we're not even talking about Kelee Ringo, who did a couple of good things against the Ravens on Saturday as well. So the Rooks are balling. This is a great development for Philadelphia. They're paying high price tags to a lot of players on this roster. How do you stay competitive, though? Replenish the cupboard of talent, but also these rookies are affordable for the next 4 or 5 years. So type Rook in the chat because these Rooks are balling out right now. Appreciate everybody for watching this segment here on Eagles Now. Our live show is only beginning, so don't go anywhere, and don't forget to subscribe.